The people of Ghana want to hear what your view is on the LGBTQ bill that is before you. Say something and sign it. Mr. President, you are beginning to appear as a supporter of LGBTQ. The people of Ghana and the people of Ningo Pram Pram do not want it. So President Akufo-Addo, it has been 8 months since Parliament passed the legislation. Sign it or tell the people what your stance is on LGBTQ.
President Mahama has been clear that he will sign that bill, and he has no option than to sign that bill. President Mahama will know no peace from Sam George until he signs that bill. And he himself has said that to the clergy, that as a Christian, as a member of the Assemblies of God Church, he will sign that bill. What the president said to the BBC was in response to why President Akufo-Addo has not signed the bill. And he said to them, look, what you, President Akufo-Addo, should have done, instead of rejecting service of the bill, was to have received the bill, stated what his displeasure is with the bill, which is what the Constitution says. The Constitution in Article 1067, President Mahama in his response to the BBC was referring to the Constitution of Ghana. Article 1067 says that when he gets to the president, he must within 14 days indicate whether he would sign or not sign. If he chooses not to sign, he then has to bring it back to Parliament and then state in the memo to Parliament the reasons why he's refusing to sign and add the recommendations to remedy those challenges he sees. Otherwise, within the 14 days, he can refer it within 30 days. He can refer it to the Council of State, who have 30 days to give him advice. That's what President Mahama was saying in that BBC interview. He was not saying that he now has to read the bill. President Mahama has read the bill. It's because he's read the bill that he told the clergy that when he becomes president, he will sign the bill, because President Mahama has no problem with anything in the bill. That explanation he was given was basically what the president should have done as a lawyer in line with our constitution, because the president's decision not to have service of the bill on him is unconstitutional and shows you how reckless and irresponsible Akufo-Addo is as a president.
It is clear that President Akufo-Addo is part of the pro-LGBTQ cabal.
What has he done?
I'll tell you. President Akufo-Addo is the one who granted an international interview and said to people, if you have enough advocacy in Ghana, you can then have LGBTQ in Ghana. A year later, they came and opened an advocacy office. When President Akufo-Addo's father sent him to Oxford, he stayed with his cousin, the son of J.B. Dankwa, called Paul Dankwa. Today, there is a book that celebrates the 100 leading figures of LGBTQ and homosexuality in the world. Paul Dankwa is in there as one of those who is celebrated. In fact, the only Ghanaian who is celebrated. As we speak today, Paul Dankwa is buried by his gay lover, Akufo-Addo's cousin, is buried by his gay lover, a British man, in Morocco. It was in his will that he wants to be buried next to his gay lover. That is the person Akufo-Addo stayed with in Oxford, when he went to Oxford. It is for these reasons that President Akufo-Addo, when Kamala Harris came to Ghana in February this year and asked him about the bill, he like Pontius Pilate, he washed his hands and said, I know nothing about the bill. It is some MPB. Thankfully, Kamala Harris has been sacked from the US with her LGBTQ. And President Akufo-Addo and Bawumia, who are afraid to speak on LGBTQ and take a position and take that stance, have contracted the Chief Justice to use the courts to delay the approval
it is public
or passing of that law.
That Dr. Bawumia has publicly said that he doesn't support LGBTQ.
Has he criticized President Akufo-Addo for not signing the bill?
But the president is president.
The
president says the communication coming out of the president's office is that they have taken executive notice of actions before Ghana's court. As a result of that, they want those to be addressed before.
Did the same Akufo-Addo not take notice of actions that are still pending on e-levy, yet went ahead to sign it? It tells you that Akufo-Addo cannot be stopped by a court case when he wants to. But this one, Akufo-Addo is the one who sent Amanda Odoy and Richard Sky to court. Because Akufo-Addo wrote to Parliament on the 4th of March telling us that there was a court case before the courts of Ghana. The court case only went to court on the 5th of March. How did the president know a day before that there was a court case going to court? We all know the relationship between Richard Sky and the current majority leader, Afenyo Makin. So look, let me tell you, the Chief Justice herself is today acting as a cog in the wheel of justice. But like I've said to them, Mahama is a flag bearer. He has stated emphatically, the bill is my bill, keep quiet. He has stated emphatically.
Please wrap up.
It's not your bill.
He has stated
on behalf of Ghana.
he has stated emphatically on behalf of Ghanaians minus Akufo-Addo and Bawumia, because they are against the bill.
Please conclude for me so that I can go to Gusu.
In fact, they changed Chairman Sam. Let me tell you something. Part of the reason why Chairman Sam Bonsu, let me say it today, part of the reason why they kicked Chairman Sam Bonsu out as majority leader was because Chairman Sam Bonsu supported me to pass the bill. I'm telling you.
Chairman Sam Bonsu told you that?
I'm telling you, we're in Parliament. We know what's going on in Parliament. Because the president came to Parliament on the 26th of February. Look, and I'm giving you dates. 26th of February. And when he came, when he met leadership, he pleaded with them not to pass the bill. And 2 days later, we showed him that we are not a rubber stamp parliament. We passed the bill. And because Che Mensah was instrumental, Che stood on his feet for 2 days, 8 hours each day to help us pass that bill. They kicked him out.
So now the cases will be called, we have 18th, right?
The Chief Justice is trying to delay for Akufo-Addo to leave so he doesn't sign. Our children and their children will remember Akufo-Addo as the man who lied to God that he will build him a cathedral. Meanwhile, he loves gay people and is supporting homosexuality and is against our culture. That is Akufo-Addo's track record.
And I'm sure you've heard this before, that the consequences of this position could outlive this administration. And if, for instance, the NDC should win power in 2024, this election, you probably going to be bearing the consequence of some of the decisions that may be taken because of your stance.
Let me state this here and now and end this conversation once and for all. This is not a political issue. It's about my children.
It has political.
No.
Wait,
no. The suggestion is that I should think about John Mahama, by God's grace, will be the president in 2025. John Mahama has at least on 4 public occasions stated that he does not believe in rights for LGBTQ, or he does not believe in LGBTQ rights as a universal right, and that our society is, the Ghanaian people are against it. As a leader, I would expect him to walk his talk as president of Ghana in 2025.
You expect him to walk his talk?
Absolutely. I mean, and I would demand same of him. The same way I'm demanding of President Akufo-Addo, I would demand same of him. That legislation will stand. I would oppose any decision by a future NDC government to say they are going to walk back this act. I will fight it. Because, like I said, it's about our cultural heritage and the innocence of my children and Ghanaian children. And the innocence of my children will not be mortgaged for any political party. And like I said, President Mahama on his own has spoken. We've not heard from Dr. Bawumia, so I can't say what his position is. But I've heard, and that's why a lot of people are holding President Akufo-Addo to his word. President Akufo-Addo has spoken at the Anglican Church, where he said it will not happen under his watch. So people are expecting you to walk your talk. Leadership is about walking your talk.
The concerns about the financial implications.
Yes.
I want to go back to that conversation because a lot of people are asking here, and they say, look, how else can we survive if we decide that we say, okay, we are going ahead with this? Where else do we go? Because we are back on we are flat on our stomachs.
Johnny, there are 2 responses to this.
Right.
Uganda's economy is smaller than Ghana's economy.
Right.
Way smaller. Uganda had a president for all his wrongs. The one right thing you can say about M27, Yoweri Museveni, is very simple. He thinks that this is a mental aberration, which it is, and has gone ahead to sign a very punitive law. In fact, Uganda's law will punish you with death. Death.
Yes.
Ours is talking 3 years maximum. Day is death. There have been all of this back and forth and bashing from all the other places. The EIU projects Uganda's economy to be the 8th fastest growing economy in Africa in 2024. That's Uganda's economy. Uganda is preparing to float a Eurobond. So what has happened to Uganda? You have countries like Kenya, who are in the process. In fact, the Kenyan MP, George Kaluma, reached out to me for a copy of the bill in Ghana.
Okay, so they can learn from it and see.
He took our bill and just changed the Ghana and put Kenya.
Finish.
Yes. And that's what is in Kenya. And that's what Kenya has passed.
Kenya has passed it.
Oh, yes.
Of course.
Yes.
Our law. Our bill.
Our bill. Take the Kenyan law and take Ghana's bill and see what it is.
So if others are learning from us,
and Kenya has gone ahead and is getting disbursements from the same IMF. Kenya is in an IMF program. So those who claim that all of a sudden our economy will collapse, first and foremost, the evidence shows that it is not true. Ghana's economy is not worth $700 million a year. Because $3.8 million over 5 years is what? $700 million.
That's right.
So the question we should ask ourselves, Johnny, is even how are we in this mess?
I publicly stated I'm a proud member of the Assemblies of God Church, and my faith does not permit same-sex marriages or relationships. No. Thank you. My faith does not permit same-sex marriages or relationships, nor does it endorse human-animal relationships, or does it allow people to change their gender as they wish. This is a fundamental belief that I hold and is grounded in my faith. I therefore assure you that the promotion of LGBTQ and all the pluses will have no place in our schools and communities under my administration. Regarding LGBTQ issues, it remains a highly emotive and sensitive issue even in the most advanced liberal democracies. I explained during my recent engagement with the World Affairs Council that it's not the most important issue we face as a nation. We're still grappling with the provisions of basic needs of education, healthcare, jobs, food, clothing, and shelter. Nevertheless, the private members' bill introduced in Parliament has sparked a complex and sensitive national conversation. Our position is guided by our Constitution, respect for human rights and dignity of all persons, and the need to preserve social cohesion. I'm also mindful of reactions from our international partners, including the recent developments such as Lincoln University's withdrawal of their honorary doctorate. These developments underscore the importance of continued engagement and mutual respect, and of situating our national decisions within our constitutional and cultural.
Say when in home. It is for to do it because I saw for the conco yam of mine. It is your Baba Sayama, and it's a mass of baby relation. It is a to me number. This is happening in Timmins LGBTQ. Yankasi and Kukuni Pau. Yankasi and Kukuni Pau. Yapasi, who is for mine in Rebiaba. The yes, I support here preachers. No. Ni yet we preaching with so many Timunu. It will preach no preachers only out of same for me because so many years near. Or many woman, oh, we not protect them up or any chihuahua. Obey them. Yet you're fucking preaching. Not I'm a too many why you do. Yes. You're being a town in Sia. About your funny count. Me too. Okay, Sam George. Honorable Sam George. What said that Quatawan? About your peer. Oh, yeah, Honorable Sam George. What said that quartet? You don't want a yes out campaign. And I didn't have to found. About young Fatia Samra. Maybe 2 months to say. About 1 year. Ever come 2 years. What Brian say? You know what's a casa crabang will be so simple. I can go see. No, but you're telling you. You can't so man tongue. When you're here, yes. You're more blood, you're better when you go point the best for you. Yes.
No man be see me ye di punish na ko sira resources man o de my. Me this to na me hwe so nya ko ade dey we wo Ghana. Go dey create me resource. What's am e reach you? Do you di to nya ko do man no? But you we mabo. Amen. One time Psalm 37 verse 21. Psalm 37. Sam George. Verse 21. Honorable Sam George. Oh, but you for family. Me pacha o be family for you. You tia. Then so you see betua LGBTQ na. Uso nyere. Untia. Me catch you. Essentially. Me catch you. Mama, what ye ka? Omampani, what ye ka? Or the ka? What family? What family free and chance oba sign my what ye ka? Sam George, what ye ka? What ye ka LGBTQ? What ye ka? Yes. Omampani, what ye ka? When you cook, dear LGBTQ, I thought what is on my mouth. What ye ka? The book of Accusations, chapter 5, verses number 5. What do you tell? One better over day, over sign. Since all castle over pet, over sign. No person won't pass over sign. What do you cut? Of them own fear. Didn't claim for your Christopher LGBT. Sign me a command. And one, no.